Our second Housing Hero Award goes to Paul Ruchinskas. For 13 years, Paul was housing specialist for the Cape Cod Commission, the regional planning agency that serves all 15 towns on the Cape. His primary job was to manage the region's federal affordable housing home funds. When he retired in 2014, he'd awarded millions of dollars in support of first-time home buyers and the production of hundreds of units of affordable housing. But ask anyone about Paul, and they'll tell you he did more than write checks. That's why MHP is honoring him with a Housing Hero Award today. Time does not permit me to quote everyone who had nice things to say about Paul, but here are some of the words we heard over and over again. Steady, thoughtful, patient, knowledgeable, dignified, teacher. One of the people who knows Paul's impact well is MHP's Community Assistance Manager, Laura Schufelt. A lifelong Cape Codder who's previously worked as a housing consultant and development director for the Falmouth Housing Authority, Laura has worked with Paul many times and credits him with a lot more than writing home checks. He's a staunch advocate who consistently promoted and defended affordable housing in the face of hostile opposition, Laura said. In his 13 years at the Commission, he was involved in almost every affordable housing project on the Cape. His thoughtful involvement created better projects, and he often advocated for better planning when nobody else was. Another one of Paul's many fans is Michelle Springer, who took over Paul's job as the administrator of home funding when he retired. Before replacing Paul, she served as his assistant. When she started, she knew next to nothing about affordable housing and all its acronyms, having previously worked in the construction industry. I would ask him the same question 10 times, and he never lost his patience and never spoke down to me, she said. My knowledge basically comes from him. He helped me go from an 18-hour-per-week clerk to grant manager. I'd say that 90% of what I know I got from him. The other 10% I got from HUD. 10% is pretty good for HUD. Given these plaudits, it should come as no surprise that before Paul got into housing, he was a school teacher, first at Cape Cod Tech and then in Connecticut. At around age 40, he looked around and saw a lot of burned-out teachers and didn't want to become one of them. So he studied community development at Yale and got his first job working for the Falmouth Housing Trust. Then, after stints in New Haven and Worcester, he returned to the Cape and put his development skills to work, helping hundreds of families find affordable housing on Cape Cod. For all these reasons, Paul has earned the right to be called a housing hero.
Thank you very, very much. I was honestly quite surprised when I received the letter because throughout my affordable housing career, I always just thought of myself as doing, as Bill Belichick has wanted to say, just doing my job. But over the last 20-plus years in the community development, affordable housing field, it's been just so incredibly rewarding to me. And honestly, I think there are a number of folks here in the room, but the real affordable housing heroes on the Cape are the folks who I work with at the Home Consortium for 13 years, the town staff, affordable housing, nonprofit developers, housing committee members, housing trust members who really did the work on the Cape. And for many of you may know, but I mean, the Cape does have a reputation as being a place that's very beautiful, which it is, and has a great deal of wealth, which it does. But the reality is that the Cape is not unlike many of the other tourist-based economies in this country, whether it be Key West or the Aspen, where we've got high housing costs. Since the early 2000s, the Cape housing costs have been 10% higher than those in Massachusetts. Housing wages, the average wage is about 30% lower. So given these dynamics and with the lack of infrastructure, particularly wastewater infrastructure, it's really not surprising that affordable housing is a real challenge on the Cape. And I'm just really proud of being a part of the consortium. We don't have the numbers that Needham did, but over the 13 years, I think there were about 1,400 affordable housing units created on the Cape with home funding, and I think 90% of them were rentals. So, thank you. When I was growing up, I'm terrible with my hands. I can't fix anything. My wife Loretta does most of the repairs, and it was much to the dismay of my dad. When I was young, we'd go down in the basement and put models together, and invariably I'd break, the mast on a ship or whatever, and he'd have to put it together again. So part of me thinks that my second career, this affordable housing, is a way of compensating for that total lack of skill in terms of being able to build anything. But it really is incredibly satisfying work, and to think that I had a role, albeit an incredibly small one, in helping over 1,400 individuals and families to get into safe, secure, and affordable housing, and to make their lives a little bit better, and to enable them to stay in a place where they wanted to be is really all the reward that I ever wanted to have. So thank you so much for this award. I deeply am honored and appreciate it. Thank you.